I first met Marilyn Chin about 5 years ago in an anthology that included how I got that name, and I've been interested in her work ever since. I'm really grateful that she accepted our invitation to Georgian Court so I could finally meet her in person. Marilyn Chin is the author of The Phoenix Gone, The Terrace Empty, and Dwarf Bamboo. Her books have become Asian American classics and are taught in classrooms nationally. She has won numerous awards for poetry, including 2 NEAs, the Stegner Fellowship, 4 Pushcart Prizes, the Bay Area Book Reviewers Award, and many others. Marilyn's work is included in a variety of anthologies, including the Norton Introduction to Poetry, Unsettling America, The Open Boat, and the Best American Poetry of 1996. She edited Dissident Song, a contemporary Asian American anthology, and she was featured in Bill Moyer's PBS series, The Language of Life. I've just scratched the surface with that bio. She might want to add more to that to update it, but that's just a start. She teaches and currently directs the MFA program at San Diego State University. I'm very pleased to introduce Marilyn Chin.
Well, thank you for coming. Of course, I want to begin by thanking Pam Rader for her hard work on my behalf. She really made it happen, and she's very organized and very loving, and you're lucky to have her here. She's really a wonderful person and scholar and friend. Yeah. She's turning bright red. She's very embarrassed. And I want to thank the English department for this support, and I want to thank Dean Connie. She's really amazing. I want to tell you, I teach at a university of 38,000 students. I never see my dean, and you can see her every day. You can go up to her and say, "Hey, I have this problem, Dean Connie. Will you help me out?" And then she's it's such a wonderful, unique, wonderful, intimate community, and I'm just getting to know some of you, and I feel like a big sister to some of you wild sisters out there, and so but given that we have some young poets here, it's not going to be an X-rated reading. Next time I come back, it's going to be X-rated, okay? Okay, I'll begin with that self-introduction of sorts, that poem that gets anthologized everywhere. It's called How I Got That Name, an essay on assimilation. I always begin with this poem because it grounds the reading with autobiography. It's called How I Got That Name, an essay on assimilation. I am Marilyn Mei-Ling Chin. Oh, how I love the resoluteness of that first person singular, followed by that stalwart indicative, a be, without that uncertain ing of becoming. Of course, the name had been changed somewhere between Angel Island and the sea when my father, the paper son, in the late 1950s, obsessed with a bombshell blonde, transliterated Mei-Ling to Marilyn. Nobody dared question his initial impulse, for we all know lust drove men to greatness, not goodness, not decency. And there I was, a wayward pink baby, named after some tragic white woman, swollen with gin and Nembutal. My mother couldn't pronounce the R. She dubbed me #1 female offshoot for brevity. Henceforth she will live and die in sublime ignorance, flanked by loving children, the kitchen deity, while my father dithers, a tomcat in Hong Kong trash, a gambler, a petty thug, who bought a chain of chop suey joints in Piss River, Oregon, with bootleg Gucci cash. Nobody dare question his integrity, given his nice, devout daughters and his bright, industrious sons, as if filial piety were the standard by which all earthly men were measured. Oh, how trustworthy our daughters, how thrifty our sons, how we managed to fool the experts in education, statistics, and demography. We're not creative, but not adverse to rote learning. Indeed, they can use us. But the model minority is a tease. We know you are watching now, and we refuse to give you any. Oh, bamboo shoots, the further west we go, we hit east. The deeper down we dig, we find China. History has turned its stomach on a black, polluted beach where life doesn't hinge on that red, red wheelbarrow. But whether or not a new lover in that final episode of Santa Barbara will lean over a scented candle and call us a bitch. Oh God, where have we gone wrong? We have no inner resources. Then one redolent spring morning, the great patriarch Chin peered down from his kiosk in heaven and saw that his descendants were ugly. One had a squarish head and nose without a bridge. Another's profile long and knobbed as a gourd. A third, the sad, brutish one, may never, never marry. And I, his least favorite, not quite boiled, not quite cooked, a plump pomfret simmering in my juices. Too listless to fight for my people's destiny. To kill without resistance is not slaughter, says the proverb. So I wait for imminent death. The fact that this death is also metaphorical is testament to my lethargy. So here lies Marilyn Mei-Ling Chin, married once, twice to so-and-so, a Lee and a Wong, granddaughter of Jack the patriarch and the brooding Su Lin Fong, daughter of the virtuous Yuquin Wong and Jin the infamous, sister of a dozen, cousin of a million, survived by everybody and forgotten by all. She was neither black nor white, neither cherished nor vanquished, just another squatter in old Bamboo Grove minding her poetry, when one day heaven was unmerciful and a chasm opened where she stood, like the jaws of a mighty white whale or the maw of a metaphysical Godzilla. It swallowed her whole. She did not flinch, nor writhe, nor fret about the afterlife, but stayed solid as wood, happily, although gnawed, tattered, mesmerized by all that was lavished upon her and all that was taken away. So that's one way to write an immigrant anthem, an identity poem. And there are many ways to write immigrant anthems and identity poems. In my new book, Rhapsody in Plain Yellow, the muse wanted to sing. For no reason at all, she wanted to sing. So I started writing quatrains and songs. I started writing blues poems. And I figure as an Asian American poet, I should not only reference Yeats and Keats and Donne, I should also reference my African American roots, blues the blues poem is part of my heritage as an American poet. So I began writing the 3-line stanza with repetitive lines, sort of the solid blues poem codified by the Harlem Renaissance period. This one's called Blues on Yellow. The canary died in the gold mine. Her dreams got lost in the sieve. The canary died in the gold mine. Her dreams got lost in the sieve. Her husband, the crow, killed under the railroad. The spokes had shorn his wings. Something is cooking in Chin's kitchen. 10,000 yellow-bellied sapsuckers baked in a pie. Something's cooking in Chin's kitchen. 10,000 yellow-bellied sapsuckers baked in a pie. Something's cooking in Chin's kitchen. Die, die, yellow bird, die, die. Oh, crack an egg on the griddle. Yellow will ooze into white. Oh, crack an egg on the griddle. Yellow will ooze into white. Run, run, sweet little Puritan. Yellow will ooze into white. If you cut my yellow wrists, I'll teach my yellow toes to write. If you cut my yellow wrists, I'll teach my yellow toes to write. If you cut my yellow fists, I'll teach my yellow feet to fight. Do not be afraid to perish, my mother. Buddha's compassion is nigh. Do not be afraid to perish, my mother. Our boat will sail tonight. Your babies will reach the promised land. The stars will be their guide. I am so mellow yellow, Buddha sings in my veins. I am so mellow yellow, Buddha sings in my veins. Oh, take me to the land of the unreborn. There's no life on earth without pain. Of course, we have to have the word pain in a blues poem. So I took that blues poem and I compressed it further, and I got rid of the full rhymes and the second repetition, playing with the form a bit. And so this one is called Blues on Yellow 2, and it's one of those existential sadness poems. It's one of those poems in which I was hanging around with a boyfriend, and I was mad at him about nothing. I was having that hormonal moment. You ladies know what I mean. Yeah, that's right. Twilight casts a blue pall on the green grass. The moon hangs herself on the sickly date palm near the garage. Songbirds assault a bare jacaranda, then boogie toward Arizona. They are fewer this year than last. Sadness makes you haggard and me fat. Last night you bolted the refrigerator shut. Extra, extra, read all about it. Chinese girl eats herself to death. Kiss a cold banquet, purge the rest. There's room in the sarcophagus if you want it. I keep my hair up in a bereavement knot. Yours grow thinner, whiter, a pink skull cap. My Levi's hang loosely and unzipped. You won't wash, won't shave, won't dress. I am your rib, your apple, your adder. You are my father, my confessor, my ox, my draft. Heartbreak comes again. When does it come? When your lamp is half dim and my moon is half dark. Thanks. I guess, I was told that there are a lot of biblical imagery. I guess I went to Catholic school in Hong Kong, and I guess I kept that imagery forever. It keeps creeping up in my poems, although I was raised by devout Buddhists, and so there it goes. This piece is called Study Hall Detatorialized. It's a new piece, and I'm writing these prose poems, and they're Japanese. I adapted them from the Japanese hybrid form. That is to say, they're prose poems with embedded fits of verse, and I embedded a particular piece that you will recognize, and there's one bad pun here, and I'll warn you when I come to it, right? And I wrote this on the 50th anniversary of Brown versus the Board of Education on that. So it's called Study Hall Deterritorialized. The brown boy hits me, but says he is sorry. The brown girl, his sister, says it's because he likes me. I say, yuck, he likes me. Well, I hate him. The black girl pinches me and says, scaredy cat, tattletale, little pussy, dare you to hit back. The white girl grabs my Hello Kitty purse and spills my milk money. I karate chop her arm. The white boy says, my father says that your father's egg rolls are made of fried rat penises. I answer, yep, my father says that the reason why his egg rolls are made of fried rat penises is because white people are weirdos and like to eat fried rat penises. The black girl laughs deep from her gut and high-fives me. Just as I am redrawing the map, my little fresh-off-the-boat cousin from Malaysia starts bawling into her pink shawl like a baby. Wah, 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 wah. The white girl muffles her ear. Can't you shut her up? I say, don't cry, little cousin. It's not as bad as it seems. It's verse. That's the pun. I point to the window and magically, to entertain us, 2 fat pigeons appear cooing on the sill. The boy is sitting on top of the girl, trying to molest her. She is wobbling, shuffling, pirouetting under his weight. He is pecking a red bald spot on her skinny nape and singing, "We will coo, we will fools, we will coo, we will fools." Finally, we all laugh as one, laughing at God's beloved creatures. Behind this spectacle, against all odds from the west, a strong explosion of sun bullies through the big gray loogie of a cloud. Yeah, that sounds like your classroom at school, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay. I guess I'm gonna read this one. And if there's a bad word, I'm gonna bleep it out. Is it okay?
He's her son.
They're
right?
actually mine.
Oh, they're yours. Oh,
They're just hanging with me.
they love you, so they're
I've
okay.
been cursing all
Is it?
day,
I'll
so
just
it's
bleep
okay.
out the.
You know what I mean? It's art, and
Huh?
they hear it's art, and they hear 10 times worse on the school bus. So.
They do.
Oh, 6th graders. Oh.
Or this. Okay. Oh, well, all right. I got permission from the mother. Okay. Oh, well, I'll bleep out whatever. But I thought I wanted you to hear these because I went to this haiku party and all these Zen-y types there, and they were trying to tell me how to be spiritual, how to be Zen-like, and how to be a good Buddhist. And I went home and I said, God, these people, they didn't know what they were talking about. Right? And so I thought I'd go home and write some bad girl, libidinous, anti-Zen haiku. But of course, if you take that spiritual element out of the haiku, then they can't be called haiku, right? So perhaps they're 17-syllable things. Maybe that's what I'll call them. But they were a lot of fun too, right? And I want to read them because I want, I guess your high school teachers, were forced to write haiku at one point, and then Hallmark greeting card destroyed the haiku. I want to reclaim the form, right, and to make it vital, to make it interesting, and make it fun. So, okay, 25 haiku. 100 red fire ants scouring the white peony. Fallen plum blossoms return to the branch. You sleep, then harden again. Cuttlefish in my palm stiffens with rigor mortis. Boy toys can't love. Neighbor's barn, grass mat crickets, blue boy trowel handle, dress soaked in mud. Iron-headed mace, double-studded halberd, swing into emptiness. Oh, fierce ogoos, tie me to 2 wild elephants, tear me in half. Oh, my swarthy herder, 2-humped Bactrian, drive me the long distance. Forceps, tongs, bushy, whip, flanks, scabbard, stirrup, goads, distaff, wither, owl. Black-eyed Susans, Queen Anne's lace, bounty of cyclamen, moan paths erupt. Gaze at the charred hills, at the woe-begone kiosks. We are all God's hussies. I have not fondled the emperor's lapdog, whose name is Black Muzzle. Urge your horses into the mist-swilled Galilee, O sweet Bedlamite. His Majesty's rounding up the jeweled stairs to find the pleasure dome. Ancient pond, the frog jumps in and in and in the deep slap of water. The frog jumps into the ancient pond, she says, no, I am not ready. Coyote cooked his dead wife's bleep and fed it to his new wife. I plucked out 3 white pubic hairs and they turned into flying monkeys. Let's do it on the antimacassar, on the antimacassar. Little Red draws her teeny pistol from her basket and said, eat me. Sing, sing, little yellow blight, rage, rage against the dying of the light. Chimera, Madame Pol Pot grafting a date tree onto a date tree. His unworthy appendage, his mutinous henchman, graze my pink cheeks. He on top now changes to the bottom. Goddess welcomes her devotee. Fish, fish, fowl, fowl, mock me, Mistress Bean Curd. I am both duck and essence. Don't touch him, bitch. We're engaged. And besides, he's wearing my nipple ring. The last line I stole from one of my female students. She was saying something like that, into her cell phone. So it's like, that's a found haiku. But, the interesting thing is they're X-rated haiku, but it's like they're working on this metaphorical level. Okay, that's why I feel like I'm safe now. Okay, that's okay. Okay. And I'm also writing some tales, and I've been working on these tales for 15 years, and a couple of them were published in a volume called Charlie Chan is Dead, and I guess the poetic tales, and they're very short, but let me see, which one should I read? Okay, I'm going to read this one, which is called Parable of the Cake, and somewhat is a disguised little tale about how Christianity took over my family. It's just in one generation, my sisters became born-again Christians, and after my grandmother and my mother died, Buddhism just disappeared from the bloodline. It's very interesting. Thousands of years of Buddhism. So this tells a somewhat disguised version of what happened to my family. But you see, there are a lot of references to biblical verse. This one is called Parable of the Cake. The neighbor woman said to us, "I'll give you a big cake, little Chinese girls, if you come to the Christmas service with me and accept Jesus Christ our Lord into your heart." We said, "Okay," and drove with her to the other side of the city and sat through a boring sermon when we should have taken the bus to Chinatown for our Cantonese lessons. Afterwards, she gave us a big cake that said, "Happy Birthday, Boonie" on it. She must have got it for half price because of the misspelling. My sister and I were really hungry after the long sermon, so we gulped down the whole cake as soon as we got home. I got sick and threw up all over the bathroom, and my sister had to clean it up before Granny got home. Then my face swelled up for 2 days on account of my being allergic to the peanut butter in the frosting. My sister was so afraid that I would croak that she confessed everything to Granny. First, Granny gave me some putrid herbal medicine. Then she whipped us with her bamboo duster. She whipped us so hard that we both had red marks all over our legs. Then she made us kneel before the great Buddha for 2 hours, balancing teapots on our heads. On Christmas Eve, Granny went to Safeway and bought a big white cake with Santa's face on it and made us go with her to the neighbor woman's house. She placed the cake into the neighbor woman's hands and said, "Peapod, translate this. Malignant whoremonger, we do not beg for your God." I didn't know how to translate malignant, and said politely, "Dear Mrs., no beg, no God." My sister and I both wept silently, embarrassed that my grandmother made us into a spectacle, and ashamed that we had to lie to get out of it. Meanwhile, Granny was satisfied that we learned our lesson and decided to take her 2 favorite peapods to Chinatown for sweet bean dessert. We were the only riders on the bus that night. Everybody else was probably home with their families, preparing for a big meal. "Merry Christmas, ho, ho, ho. I am Santa's helper," said the bus driver. He was wearing a green elf's hat and we knew that he was really Mr. Rogers, the black bus driver. He gave us each 2 little candy canes. Granny scowled, tisk tisk, ancient warrior in a fool's cap. Then we sat way in the back of the bus, and Granny began singing our favorite song. We will go home and eat cakeys, little lotus-filled cakeys, Granny sang. We'll eat sweet buns, sweet custard sweet buns, she sang. We'll eat turnip squares, salty white turnip squares, she sang. We'll eat grass jelly, tangy green grass jelly. We'll eat dumplings, soft, steamy dumplings. She was so jolly that we forgot our embarrassing episode. And we sang with her, clapping hands. We sang and sang. Granny would die a few years later, leaving us $3,000 under her mattress and a brand new cleaver, still wrapped in Chinese newspaper from Hong Kong. We grew up into beautiful, clear-skinned young women. We worked hard in our studies, became successful, and drove little white Mercedes. We learned nothing from our poverty, but to avoid poverty at all costs. We had 3 failed marriages between us, 4 nice children, whom we proudly raised with upper middle class values. We spent days and days at the mall buying shoes. We became born-again Christians. We feared love and loved no one, not even ourselves. We ended up with two dull but very kind husbands. We spoke of our grandmother with reverence, but understood nothing, nada that she taught us. Fa la 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 la, little cakeys. We drive around a little white Mercedes all over Southern California, eating little cakeys. Yes, let's put on the Ritz sisters, little petitfours in pastels and rainbows, booze-soaked baba rums. Ooh, yes, nutty Florentines on little white doilies. Oh, sisters, let's ghetto it, ho-hos, ding-dongs, pink and white snowballs. Let's suck the creamy hearts out of the Twinkies. Come hither, come yon, young Chinese girls. Come, let's drive around our little white Mercedes, eating cakeys, little cakeys. Come, let the crumbs fall down our chins and dance on our laps. Come, light, airy Madeleines. Come, creamy trifles. Come, little cakeys. Come, the sweet hereafter. This piece is it's called Tonight While the Stars Are Shimmering. I call this a New World duet, and it's designed like a tango, back and forth, and a lover's argument. And I try to infuse the poem with not only Tang Dynasty landscape, but Southern California landscape, hoping that the planes will meet somewhere in space. It's called Tonight While the Stars Are Shimmering. A burst of red hibiscus on the hill, a dahlia blue silence chills the path. Compassion falters on Highway 8. Between La Jolla and Julian, you are sad. Across the Del Mar shores, I ponder my dead mother. Between heaven and earth, a pesky brown gull. The sky is green where it meets the ocean. You're the master of subterfuge, my love. A plume of foul orange from a duster plane. I wonder what poison he is releasing, you say. A steep wall of wildflower, perhaps verbena, purple so bright they mock the robes of God. In feudal China, you would have drowned at birth. In India, charred for a better dowry. How was I saved on that boat of freedom, to be anointed here on the prayer mat of your love? High humidity, humiliation on the terrain, or you can't describe the ocean to the well frog. I call you racist, you call me racist. Now we're entering forbidden territory. I call you sexist, you call me a fool, and compare the canyons to breasts anyway. I pull your hair, you bite my nape. We make mad love till birdsong morning. You tear off your shirt, you cry out to the moon. In the avocado grove, you find peaches. You curse on the precipice, I weep near the sea. The Tribune says, nobody will marry you. You're already 40. My mother followed a cockerel, my granny a dog. Their palms arrange my destiny. Look, there's Orion. Look, the dog star. Sorry, Your Majesty, your poetry has lost its duende. Look, baby, baby, stop the car. A mouse and a kitty hawk they are, dancing. Yellow mauve marguerites close their faces at dusk. Behind the iron gate, a jasmine breeze. In life we share a pink quilt, in death a blue vault. Shall we cease this redress, this wasteful ransom? Your coffee is bitter, your spaghetti is sad. Is there no ending this colloquy? Ms. Look East, Miss Look East, what have we accomplished this century? I take your olive branch deep within me, a white man's guilt, a white man's love, tonight while the stars are shimmering. You guys were forced to read some of my poems. Anything you want to hear? Yes?
Turtle soup?
Okay. There's always somebody for turtle soup, but I don't think, have you ever tasted turtle soup, my dear? Okay. Turtle soup. You go home one evening tired from work, and your mother boils you turtle soup. 12 hours hunched over the hearth. Who knows what else is in that cauldron? You say, Ma, you poached the symbol of long life. That turtle lived 4,000 years, swam the way up the Yellow over the Yangtze, witnessed the Bronze Age, the High Tong, grazed on splendid sericulture. So she boils the life out of him. All our ancestors have been fools. Remember Uncle Wu, who drove 10,000 miles to kill a famous Manchu and ended up with his head on a pole. Eat, child, its liver will make you strong. Sometimes you're the life, sometimes the sacrifice. Her sobbing is inconsolable. So you spread that gentle napkin over your lap in decorous Pasadena. Baby, some high priestess has got it wrong. The golden decal on the green underbelly says, made in Hong Kong. Is there nothing left but the shell and humanity's strange inscriptions, the songs, the rites, the oracles? Other requests? Anybody? Yes?
Would you read Unrequited Love?
Unrequited Love. Okay, that's from the first book. I wrote that as a child. I don't have the first book with me. Do you have it with you?
I do.
Oh, okay. I wrote that in my 20s. I was a child when I wrote that. This piece is about the male gaze, and I can find it here. It's nice to revisit this book because I wrote this in my 20s. I was a child, okay? It's called Unrequited Love. Because you stared into the black lakes of her eyes, you shall drown in them. Because you tasted the persimmon on her lips, you shall dig your moist grave. Her rope of black hair does not signify a ladder of escape, but of capture. The warm flesh of her arms and thighs, not cradles of comfort, but of despair. She shall always be waiting for you in an empty room overlooking the sea. She shall always sit this way, her back toward you, her shoulders bare, her silk kimono in manifolds around her waist, blue as the changeless sea. You sit prostrate before her, bruise your forehead, chant the dharmas. 5,000 years together in the same 4.5 mat room, and she has not learned to love you. He's not going to get this, girl, I don't think. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to read another short tale. This one is called Moon, and I've been working with revitalizing Tang Dynasty ghost stories. So this is part revenge tale, and then of course there's the biblical tale embedded in here, the tale of Herod and the boy killing, you know, and then of course my cousin, my wonderful cousin calls this, you know, a B film, a B-rated horror film. So I don't know. There's a lot compressed in this little tale, and it's called Moon. So and there's a lot of Southern California landscape here. Moon was a little fat Chinese girl. She had a big yellow face befitting her name. She was sad and lonely, as were all little fat Chinese girls in 1991. And she had a strange, insatiable desire for a pair of trashy blonde twins named Smith. No accounting for taste, of course. Every night she would wander on the beach in search of them, hoping to espy them taking a joyride around Pacific Beach in their rebuilt sky blue convertible Impala. Their long blonde hair swept backward like horses' manes, their faces obscenely sunburned, resembling right halves of peaches. One chilly September evening, the boys stopped to make a campfire on the beach, and Moon, feeling quite full and confident that day, descended upon them, waddling so fat, so round and shiny with sea spray. She offered them chocolate macadamia nut clusters and began to sing, strumming a tiny lute-like instrument her grandmother sent her from China. She began singing in an ancient falsetto, a baleful song about exiled geese winging across the horizon, about the waxing and waning of stormy seas, about children lost into the unknown depths of the new kingdom. The boys were born and raised in the valley and were very unsophisticated. They were also functional illiterates and were held back twice in the 5th grade. And there was no way that they could have understood the complexities of her song. They huddled in that sporting male way and whispered surreptitiously, speaking in very short sentences between grunts, or long run-on sentences with ambiguous antecedents. So that Moon was not quite sure whether she was the subject of their discussion. Finally, the boys offered to give Fat Moon a ride in the stainless steel canoe they got for Christmas. We know, of course, that they were up to trouble. You don't think that their hospitality was sincere, do you? Moon graciously accepted their invitation. Actually, she was elated given the bad state of her social life. She hadn't had a date for centuries. So the two boys paddled, one fore, one aft, with Fat Moon in the middle. Moon was so happy that she started strumming her lute and singing the song of Hiawatha. Don't ask me why. This was what she felt like singing. Suddenly, the boys started rocking the boat forcefully, forward and backward, making wild, horsey sounds until the boat flipped over, Fat Moon, lute, and all. The boys laughed and taunted Moon to reappear from the rough water. When she didn't surface after a few minutes, it suddenly occurred to them that she was drowning. They watched in bemusement while the last of her yellow forehead bled into the waves. Finally, they dove in and dragged her heavy body back into the boat, which was quite a feat, for she was twice as heavy wet than dry. and she was now tangled in sea flora. When they finally docked, Moon discovered that the boys saved her only to humiliate her. It appeared that they wanted a reward for saving her life, a blood debt, if you will. In this material world, goods are bartered for goods, and actions, however heroic and well-intentioned in appearance, are never clearly separated from services rendered. And in the American ledger, all services must be rendered in the end, paid for in the end, and all contracts must be signed at closing bearing each participant's legal signature. Thus, the boys ripped off Moon's dress and took turns pissing all over her round face and belly, saying, "So it's true that your bleeps are really slant-eyed bleep. Did you really think that we had any interest in you?" After the boys finished their vile act, they left Moon on the wharf without a stitch on, glowing with yellow piss. And she cried, wailed all the way home on her bicycle. Imagine a little fat Chinese girl, naked, peddling, wailing. When Moon got home, her mother called her a slut. Her father went on and on about the Sino-Japanese War and about the starving girl children in Guangdong. And look, what are you doing with your youth and new prosperity? Wailing, carrying on just because some trashy white boys rejected you. Have you no shame? Your cousin, the son, matriculated Harvard. Your brother, the stars, all became engineers. Where are the I.M. Pays and Yo-Yo Ma's of your generation? They sent her to bed without supper that night as a reminder that self-sacrifice is the most profound virtue of the Chinese people. Up in her room, Moon brooded and swore on a stack of Bibles that she would seek revenge for this incident, that if she were to die today, she would come back to earth as an angry ghost to haunt those mother somethings. Oh gosh, all right. That came, to my surprise. With this in mind, Moon swallowed a whole bottle of sleeping pills, only to cough them up 10 minutes later. Obviously, they didn't kill her. However, those 10 minutes of retching must have prevented oxygen from entering her brain and left her deranged for at least a month after this episode. Hey, I'm no doctor, just a storyteller. Take my diagnosis with caution, please. Overnight, she became a homicidal maniac. A flower plague would shroud all of Southern California, which, curiously, infected only blonde men, both natural and peroxided types. Those slightly hennaed would be spared. For 30 days and 13 nights, Moon scoured the seaside, howling, windswept, in search of blonde victims. They would drown on their surfboards or collapse while polishing their cars. They would suffocate in their sleep next to their wives and lovers. Some died leaving a long trail of excrement because whatever pursued them was so terrible that they literally scared the poop out of them. And not since Herod had we seen such a devastating assault on male children. On the 31st night, the horror subsided. Moon finally found the Smith boys cruising in their sky blue convertible Impala. They were driving south on the scenic coast route between San Clemente and Del Mar. When she plunged down on them, her light was so powerful and bright that the boys were momentarily blinded and swerved into a canyon. The car turned over 12 times. They were decapitated, the coroner said, so cleanly as if a surgeon had done the job with a laser. Moon grew up, lost weight, and became a famous singer, which proves that there is no justice in the universe, or that indeed there is justice. Your interpretation of this denouement mostly depends on your race, creed, hair color, social and economic class, and political proclivities, and whether or not you are a feminist revisionist and have a habit of cheering for the underdog. What is the moral of the story? Well, it's a tale of revenge, obviously, written from a Chinese-American girl's perspective. My intentions are to veer you away from teasing and humiliating little chubby Chinese girls like myself. And that one wanton act of humiliation you perpetrated on the fore or aft of the boat of my arrival may be one humiliating act too many. For although we are friendly neighbors, you don't really know me. You don't know the depth of my humiliation. You don't know what I can do. You don't know what is beneath my doing. I'm having fun writing those tales, as you can see. I shall end with this poem. It's called Identity Poem Number 99, and I wrote this for some of my young poet friends, and so I'd like to end with this poem. Are you the sky or the allegory for loneliness? Are you the only Chinese restaurant in Roseburg, Oregon? A half-breed war orphan adopted by proper Christians, a heathen poi dog, a creamy half and half? Are you a dingy vinyl address book, a wrist without a corsage? Are you baby's breath face down on a teenage road in America? Are you earphones detached, left dangling on an airplane jack to diaspora? Are you doomed to a childhood without music, weary of your granny's one-string woe-begone erhu mewling about the past? Are you hate speech, or are you a lullaby? Anecdotes requiring footnotes, an ethnic joke rehashed. How many Chinamen does it take to screw? How many Chinamen does it take to screw a light bulb? Are you so poor that you cannot call your mother? You have less than $2 on your phone card, and it's a long cable to Nirvana. Are you a skylight through which the busgirl sees heaven, a chopping block stained by the blood of 10,000 innocents, which daily the same busgirl must wipe off? Does existence preempt essence, I being what my ancestors were not? Suddenly, you're a vegan vegetarian. Restaurant is a facticity, and getting the hell out is transcendence. Was the punchline incandescent? Did he say no dogs and China women? Was a nosebleed your last tender memory of her? Were you a rose or a tattoo of fire? Any questions? I've been with some of you all day long. Yeah, okay.
When did you start writing?
Oh, that's a long time, yeah, as a child, but I think I began as a translator. In my undergraduate, my undergraduate degree was in Chinese language and literature. I began as a translator, then I realized it was, that I loved poetry, and I wanted to, write poetry myself. But and before that, I did some painting. I was a painting major. I knew I wanted to do an art form, but I realized that other, my friends were better painters than mine. They wore their medium. They just, ate their paint and had paint all over their bodies. They loved their medium, and I realized that wasn't my medium. So I became a poetry geek. I just love poetry, and so that's what happened.
Is there like a certain inspiration that you have when you're writing, something that you think about in particular?
Well, yeah, we talked about this a while ago. It's like the first draft is from God, right? You think, oh, the muse hit me today, and then you look at it the day, tomorrow, and you say, well, boy, this really sucks. Why did I think that this was good? I write I like to wake up early and write, and I don't write very well when I'm teaching. I'm just too overwhelmed. I run around and do readings, and I teach, and I direct a program. It's just too hectic. But I usually take the second semester off, leave without payoff, and I just go to an artist calling. I go away to write, and I just focus on reading and writing. And I read more than I write. But yeah, I like the early mornings. And also, if I'm not writing well, I set up little tasks for myself. Like I wrote a bunch of haiku. I said I'm going to write some haiku in whatever stays. Whatever is good, I'll keep. Or in one summer I wrote a lot of sonnets, and I thought they really sucked, so I threw them all out. So I set up tasks for myself. So there are many ways to invite the muse. It's not just, sometimes you sit there and she doesn't want to come. She just says, forget you. I'm going somewhere else. I'm going to that other poet down the street. but sometimes you invite her by working, by thinking, by reading, and by getting involved, getting deeply involved with the genre. Yeah.
It seems like your work is almost inseparable from your family, or at least you have to mention your family in your work. What do they think? Do they read? Do they
Oh,
see
well, my mother and grandmother are gone now, but they couldn't read English, so I write anything I want. Right? and my father's in the doghouse with me forever, so I write. I blame him for everything. So so I write him, and I can't escape my childhood, and I can't escape the pain and the beauty of it, and the pain and beauty of being this bicultural, bilingual heritage. So it's all in the poetry. I can't help it. I'm an autobiographical poet, and even my little tales I have, there was that pair of blonde boys that used to beat me up in 3rd grade, and this is my way to seek revenge after them. So that's but it's we talked about this in the workshop a little bit about having painful childhoods and having conflicted, being conflicted about this or that, about writing about issues and so forth. That the pain makes us better writers. I think we have something to say, and so don't.
You said you started out as a translator.
Right.
Did you ever write in Chinese? Did you ever?
Oh, people ask me. I can't write in Chinese. I don't know the nuances of that language enough. You can you write? You seem to be bilingual. Can you
yes,
write?
I am bilingual.
Can you write in your mother language? I can't do it. I'm too ashamed of it. Of my Chinese. It's just. Yeah, I write to my grandmother in Hong Kong, and she says, "That's not, your letter is. You don't write the way you speak." She says, "You're not supposed to write the way you speak. You're supposed to be more formal." Yeah, and I don't know how to do that. So I think it's the vector only goes one direction. I can translate from Chinese to English, but never the other way around. Yeah. Yes.
How does a Buddhist family raise a daughter in a Catholic school?
A lot of Buddhist families in Hong Kong sent their children to Catholic school. They thought that the nuns would give them a good spanking once in a while, but they give them a good education and discipline. And which I think looking back, it was it did give me those things. Catholic school. But it's interesting about my family. I have 2 sisters who were born again Christians. I went to Catholic school. I had a Jewish boyfriend for a long time. And then there's a side of family that are devout Buddhists and so forth. And so it's all okay. It all survives in this family. I mean, we all get along fine. Other questions? Yes?
We've heard some echoes of William Carlos Williams and Dylan Thomas and Elizabeth Bishop and other poets.
Oh, yes.
In your work tonight, and I was wondering, if any, who would you count among your poetic forebearers?
Everybody. I mean, you can't escape those people, right? I think most poetry writing poetry is about having a dialogue with the dead poets. It's always intertextual, and I can't get away from it. So I might as well make fun of them in the poems, try to, and so make references to, to both biblical text and Buddhist text, to Dylan Thomas, as you say, and in that haiku, I just thought I could fit that in 17 syllables, and so it's about playing with form and in a way in the haiku I sort of I made reference to Ba Shou, but that's like he's gonna roll in his grave. I mean that's like a mean way to make reference to him. But this is how I rationalize it. I think it's better to remember them, to pay homage to them, even in a satirical way than to forget them. So it's, that's how poets, young poets, honor the dead poets. We living poets honor the dead poets, and yeah. So it's just being a poetry geek too. I just, I can't help but reference them. I just, I keep rereading the modernists, and I'm always astounded, how wonderful how wonderful they all were. Other questions? How about that group back there? Are you a mysterious group back there?
This is my class, and I said that they're insecure, that's why they all sit together.
Is that right? So a question from back there? No? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. My
Do you
young man over
get
here.
any other ideas from other poets?
Do I what?
Do you get other ideas from any other poets?
That's right. I steal. I steal from other poets. I really love stealing from them. Yes. That's the way we learn. So I steal from them, and I steal from the dead, and then I reclaim the poem, for my own. I have to, absorb their work and then regurgitate it in my own way, to claim that, to put my yellow blood on their poem, on their work, yeah.
Well, at least you're honest.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the way to be, really. It's to honestly, I'm stealing a slide from Dylan Thomas, and if you're a poetry geek, you're gonna get it. If you're not a poetry geek, well, you're gonna like the line. So it's a win-win situation, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah.
You said something earlier today in the class that you were teaching, that Chinese Americans, that there are two ways of describing them, as part of the bamboo shoot, the solid part of the bottom, and then the hollow part of the top as being sort of decidedly American. I was wondering if that was universal for all Americans, that once people are sort of assimilated into American culture, they become hollow, and why it is, I guess briefly, I'm sure there's a long explanation for that as to why that happens.
Well, I mean, the term I was referring to is juk sing juk kak. Juk kak means you're at the knot of the bamboo. That means you still have knowledge of the roots of, and juk sing means you're at the shoot of the bamboo, at the end where the bamboo's hollow. And so, and that's derogatory. Juk sing is a derogatory term for American, American-born Chinese who've lost the language, have no knowledge of the mother culture, and so it's, I work, most of my work is about assimilation, about losing the mother culture, losing that Buddhism, losing the language, losing, that part of my identity. So I make it a point to learn classical Chinese. I go back to Taiwan to learn classical Chinese. I try very hard to keep that knowledge of my Eastern past. I try to keep. I keep reading poetry from both sides of my literary lineage. The East and West, and sometimes, as you can see, I make these hybrid forms, and the hybrid, and I put the biblical verse and Buddhist verse in sometimes in the same poem. It's about honoring both sides of my identity, and also playing with both sides of my identity and critiquing both sides of my identity. I mean, it's about having something to say to the world, and so. Well, you got
One more.
Okay.
I noticed today, we were just learning about Walt Whitman in one of my classes, and Dr. Capucci said that it's very bold for him to be able to use anaphras the way he does. And then I was looking online and saw one of your poems, and it was pretty ballsy of you to do the same thing. And so, I mean, it says a lot about your confidence in your poetry. Is that something that you acknowledgeably do, or?
The Nafra, which poem was that?
You know what, shame on me, I have so much stuff going through my head, but I don't recall.
Oh, yeah, I have several poems in which I use the Anafra, I use repetition as almost a shamanistic chant, and yeah, I love using there are all these tools in front of us, this wonderful history. I like to steal from that history, borrow from it, and play with it. It's really about loving the genre and being able to play in the mud of that genre. So yeah, I love Anapha because it sings, and so this new book sings. The muse wanted to sing, so I wrote quatrains, I wrote blues poems and so forth. I let it sing, yeah. So yes, okay, from that corner, okay.
To think hard.
Okay.
You wrote, one of your statements was, what we write can change the world. What do you hope what change will come about, or what is it that what message are you sending out there for us?
Well, yeah, from my work, I guess that's a really grand question, but one thing is that I always write from, I never forgot that little brown girl in Hong Kong who had hungry nights, and so I like to think that I write for what Gayatri Spivak calls the subaltern, the weakest, the most, the quietest, the most unprotected brown girl in the room, the poorest brown girl in the room, and I never forgot about her because I was her at one time, and so I'm always writing against oppression of any kind, and as you can tell, the tales are really about turning the table on the oppressor, right? It's just, and they're about honoring our mothers and our grandmothers who raised me. I was raised by a matriarch, matriarchy and aunts and so forth. So I'm always honoring them. So my work is women centered, and I feel great about that. Why not? That's just who I am, and so that I consider myself an activist poet. So there are many. I confront many issues in my work, and mostly I think I write as I write for women. And I think that's how how I see my work. For the most vulnerable woman, the brown girl in the room. That's who I think that I want to write for. But that could be really delusional on my part. She doesn't probably want me to write for her. She says that forget you. You're living this easy life. Who are you to write for me? I mean, that's a possibility. But well, thank you so much for coming, you guys. It's been a lovely visit for me.